Many egg companies want you to think that their hens are roaming free and happy. But a lot of those cage-free hens are actually trapped inside a warehouse, like recess got canceled forever. That's why Vital Farms works with family-run farms so hens can do hen things outside all year long. Every Vital Farms egg comes from a pasture-raised hen who enjoys a minimum of 108 square feet of roaming room while enjoying fresh air and sunshine. We bet you can taste the difference. Vital Farms, where honest food is raised.
You are at your favorite restaurant.
What are you going to order?
I was thinking a beet salad, but it really depends on where the beets came from.
The waiter arrives with raw beets, and you use your smartphone to scan their genomes. You learn the water and petrochemical makeup of the beets. Then you review where they were grown and select a nutrient-filled beet. It was harvested from a local organic farm with an A+ labor rating. After you eat the lovely red vegetable, the farmer gets a notification. That beet's journey from seed to stomach is now complete. Welcome to The Future of X, a podcast from Aussie in partnership with Vital Farms. I'm your host, Isabel Lee. We are exploring the future of farming. In this episode, we unpack how data could soon revolutionize how our produce is grown and how it reaches our plates. Growing produce will require farmers to rely on insights from data, everything from what seeds to buy to how much water and fertilizer to use. Sensors in the fields will track the state of crops from seed to harvest. One day soon, farmers will simply use apps to check whether their fields have enough water and fertilizer. Technology will even tell them when it's time to harvest. But what about when those beets leave the farm?
Farmers increasingly want to know themselves where their food production or their agricultural production has ended up.
Emma Weston is a farmer in Australia. She is also the CEO and co-founder of AgriDigital.
Not just because they're attached to the particular product, which may be true, but also so they can optimize their production and their farm practices.
AgriDigital is trying to digitize the supply chain from seed to stomach.
Traditionally, farmers are obviously working on the farm and effectively their operations stop at the farm gate. And at Waypath, we're on a mission to digitize that last mile for farmers. So really what we're doing is digitizing the harvest experience for the farmer and all the way through to monetizing the asset that they've spent all year growing, which is their grain.
So data will help farmers work smarter. They will get the most from their land safely without having to overwork themselves or the soil.
They want sustainable, profitable operations, and they don't necessarily just want to have to grow bigger, which has always been the mantra before, that the only way to be really sustainable and profitable was to grow really big.
So how soon is this data revolution for smarter production coming?
It's predicted that we're in the midst of this revolution, and the application of these digital tools is going to bring this bright, shiny future of more sustainable, more productive agriculture.
Kelly Bronson is a Canadian research chair in Science and Society at the University of Ottawa. She focuses on the relationship between people and technology, including GMOs and other farming innovations.
There's a lot of hope. Probably you've heard from people who are really hopeful that big data use in food production is going to help us address some of the wicked problems, right, in our global food system. So food insecurity and also unsustainability.
And food waste. A whopping 14% of the world's food is lost between the farmer's field and store shelves. With even more mouths to feed in the future, we will need to get better about eliminating food waste. Storage and shipping data can help. So in addition to smarter crops, greater profitability, and sustainability, Emma Weston's work to digitize the last mile for farmers can help reduce waste.
They could be delivering into silos on the farm, silo bags that are located in other paddocks, or into various third-party storage points. And being able to keep a track of all that grain make sure that we don't lose it, that we understand the quality and the quantity of what we've produced, and then that we can optimize the value of that grain is really important to us and to our customers.
Tomorrow's farmers, after harvest, will track their produce as it travels from the fields to various restaurants, markets, and stores. So farmers will soon be working smarter and reducing waste. But what about the environment? How can data help farmers look out for the planet? Sensors in the soil will tell farmers whether a plant has enough water or fertilizer, sure. But these tools can also track environmental impact. For example, are farmers overwatering, polluting? Is their soil carbon rich? Kelly Bronson believes data will reduce farm pollution.
So food insecurity and also unsustainability, whether it's, chemical loading and industrial runoff from farms. And some people think that data will help us address these problems.
What is chemical runoff? It stems from the use of fertilizers that contain nitrogen or phosphorus. Rain or overwatered fields let chemicals seep into the water table through rivers and streams, making their way into lakes and oceans. Nearly half of America's waterways, 46%, are overloaded with phosphorus, and according to the EPA, 41% of them have too much nitrogen. Both of these are common chemicals found in fertilizers. Runoff with these chemicals, coupled with manure from animal farming, creates a deadly combination for plants and animals. It also leaves algae blooms in the water. Those blooms use up all the oxygen and prevent anything else from growing or breathing, causing dead zones. Ever heard of the Gulf of Mexico dead zone? It covers more than 6,000 square miles at the mouth of the Mississippi River. Kelly Bronson explains how data can help us prevent more chemical seepage and dead zones.
The best use of a chemical, a kind of targeted or precise use, right? This section of my field is underperforming and seems to need attention, chemical attention. And even then, right, with some of the soil collection data, the suggestion could be this particular chemical or this particular chemical seed system.
But it will all be very calculated and controlled so as to not pollute the environment around it. Data to the rescue!
A lot goes into an honest day's work at Vital Farms. Their purpose is to bring ethically produced food to the table. And they believe that pasture-raising animals is the most humane and sustainable way to achieve that. That's why Vital Farms partners with nearly 200 family farms, helping them to rotate their pastures and do right by the land. Because helping the land helps the hens, which helps the eggs, which helps you. Vital Farms, where honest food is raised.
So, we have established that farmers of the future will be able to grow their crops more easily and environmentally. But not all farms are built alike. Today, small family-owned farms make up about 90% of America's farms. Large-scale industrial farms, meanwhile, account for just 3%. But get this, that 3%, the large farms, still drive the nation's production. They grow nearly half of the country's agricultural output. Large-scale farms have the best and latest tools, and they have more money. But the digital revolution can not only serve the biggest farming outfits. Kelly Bronson.
A lot of people predict that this is an inevitable digital agricultural revolution globally. And if that's the case, my central concern is who is really enabled to participate in this revolution.
For Kelly, the future of farming and big data depends upon investment in small players. She believes data can level the playing field. So, what are the barriers to technological equity? The biggest is access to data collection machinery. Soil sensors, tracking systems, and tractors are expensive. How can we equalize access? Kelly says that it requires investing extra in the small players, especially female farmers, to preserve gender diversity, biodiversity, and farm-scale diversity. For Emma Weston, it's personal. The data needs to serve her.
For me on our farm, an ideal scenario would be that data is a liberator. And so it enables me to do the jobs that I want to do when I want to do them, how I want to do them.
Gokul Padel, an agricultural economist based in Nepal, researches technology adoption and how to bridge the gap between data and the people who need it. He provides small farms with useful data and information. Small farmers produce 90% of the food that Nepal consumes. These farmers work with very small farms, often only 1 or 2 acres. So how do Padel and his team share information with these small farmers?
One of the way we have chosen is the mobile phone, because in Nepal, there are almost 65% of the farmers or the population, they use the mobile phone.
His team decided to leverage what people had, mobile phones.
We provide the information to the farmers through different forms, like providing SMS services in the mobile phone, and also sometimes hearing some of the jingles in radio stations, or sometimes maybe sending message in the form of newspaper.
What kinds of insights are being shared with the farmers via phone?
We also have the observed data from the farmers' field. And we integrate this data, observed data from the farmer's field, with the satellite data. We run the algorithms and identify what are the factors that drive productivity and what farmers need to improve in order to enhance the productivity.
This is just one example of how access to big data can help small farmers be more productive with their land and resources. Nepal is also seeing a decline in the number of farmers. Padel and his team hope to combat this decline by making farming easier and more productive. His country is not alone in seeing a flight from farms. The number of U.S. farms peaked in 1935 and has been declining ever since. Yet even as the number of farms and the number of people employed by those farms has declined, productivity has skyrocketed. Total farm output has nearly tripled since World War II. Thanks in large part to technological advances like specialized machinery or high-tech fertilizers. In the future, data-driven technology will undoubtedly be the next wave that helps the farming industry grow. Let's return to that beet farm of the future. The farmer is working in his field and is about to harvest his beets when he gets a message from a neighbor. The neighbor warns that his beets are very small this year. After hearing this, the farmer decides to hold off harvesting for another week or so, giving them more time to grow. Emma Weston farms grain and uses data to help farmers like her be more productive, sustainable, and competitive on the global market. She is focused on this kind of neighborly information sharing.
At AgriDigital, we fundamentally believe that access to data and the way that we can use data as farmers and in the supply chain going forward is actually a democratic issue for participation across the supply chain.
Data can connect rural and urban communities, small and large farms, and even farmers with consumers.
Data is a bridge between largely rural producers of that data or rurally based producers of that data in the context of farming and the city-based consumers of that data.
The power of big data is its ability to connect us. Farming communities are especially tight-knit. Their future, according to Weston, relies on those networks and sharing insights within that community.
And so if we can think of that bridge as a really positive thing, then, we're going to have flourishing rural and regional communities, which we don't have at the moment. And I think data can power that.
In our next episode, we take a closer look at the power of big agriculture. As we just learned, large-scale farms dominate U.S. food production, despite making up only 3% of farms in the country.
Land has always been the center of democratic processes here in this country.
We will explore the importance of small, local farms for building the sustainable agricultural models of the future that will be needed to meet customers' needs, feed the planet, and protect against climate-related disasters.
Number one, our food systems, they are being compromised, and they're being compromised very fast.
Tune in next time to learn how small farmers are working to protect the future of farming and our food. Thanks for joining us on the Future of X, Future of Farming. This series is a partnership between Aussie and Vital Farms. It's written and hosted by me, Isabel Lee, writer at Aussie. It was produced by Cecily Meza-Martinez and Joshua Sui. Kate Piggott also produced. Special thanks to Tracy Moran, Sean Braswell, and Simran Sethi. Chris Hoff engineered our show. Make sure to subscribe to the Future of X, Future of Farming on the iHeartRadio app or listen wherever you get your podcasts.